We're making a movie.
Take one.
Mark. And action. Action. Action.
What could I ever gain
And cut.
to set this feeling into motion?
Polarized _movie. Check it out. Polarized was really inspired around the time that Trump was elected, and it follows the story of two young women in the same small town. One works for the other. It's a farming town which has been pretty much dying, and Lisa's family has recently lost their family farm, and she's forced to go and work for Dahlia's family, who run an urban farm.
There are rules to follow in this country.
In this country? What is that supposed to mean? If you think you can improve something, let me know, but don't come in here talking about this country like I don't belong here.
Do you?
And cut.
It's a beautiful love story, and it's very contemporary, set in what's happening in the world today with racism, anti-immigration, fear of the other, and so on. So this is sort of tackles all these stories at many levels, but at its core, it's driven by the love story, and the two leads are the bridge to these two polarized worlds.
Probably should have just brought us to a bar or something.
No, I'm glad you brought me here. It's beautiful, really.
Yeah?
Yeah.
There was sort of this seismic shift in the way people were feeling polarized in the world. It occurred to me when I was traveling in a lot of different towns and cities that two people could live in the same city and be completely separated, not just by race, religion, culture, but also by class and economics.
There is no story just like this. I tried to watch films like this as a reference. Nothing exists. And I think when you hit something like that, you got to do it.
Just wait till you have a wife and baby on the way. I believe it.
So many people deserve so much more than the hands that they are dealt. And in both cases, these characters are able to find themselves and find their own future. It costs so much for them to tear themselves away from the way they currently live, but they do it because they're brave and they're strong. And to be able to set that kind of example for someone is one of the greatest achievements. You know, if I can look back on this and think I affected one person, two people positively, I will sleep soundly. Do you think it's wrong?
No, I don't think it's wrong. I mean, for me it is. I'm getting married.
This is a really, really important story to tell. The stigma of LGBTQ+ still, it's not something that's talked about much in general, but it's definitely not discussed a lot in the Arab world. As a Lebanese myself, I know for a fact that it's still quite shunned and it's still quite underrepresented.
Maybe I should get back.
Yeah, me too.
A lot of women, a lot of men who go through this and are not able to talk about it, or if they do bring it up, it doesn't turn out so great.
Lisa, she's from an evangelical Christian family. She's a poet, she's a songwriter who has to work to support her family. For me, her story was one of an artist needing to find their way to being an artist or die.
The character of Lisa was really strong, a really interesting female character. She is a very interior character. She doesn't get to express herself much except through her music. She keeps her head down and makes money to support her family and her sick father. This is a character who does not tweet. This is a character who lives every day with her feet on the ground. And she wants more than that. She wants to fly, you know?
So we had tapes from all over Canada, and I sifted through them. A casting director sifted through them, and we got to the last 30. And I watched last 30. I watched every single one of them diligently, and I just said, please hire me, Holly Deveaux.
For there across the sea.
And for Dahlia as well, she's somebody who's in an engagement, who has a family, has never questioned the status quo because she's been busy and relatively happy. But Lisa touches something in her that she has never understood about herself before, and there's a reflectiveness and a feeling of living a little deeper.
Well, my role and my character arc in the story as Dahlia, she starts off, she knows what she's doing. She knows where her path is. She feels as though she's got her life together. There's something that changes the trajectory for her, and it's Lisa. That path of discovery and learning about herself with regards to Lisa, but also with regards to her work.
What's that girl doing back here?
Lisa? I hired her back.
I don't remember us discussing that.
And I don't remember needing to check everything with you.
Watching her navigate that aspect of her life alongside her family and their expectations of her and how they're not necessarily matching is really great. So yeah, she definitely goes on one heck of a trip throughout this film. And I'm really blessed to be able to have such a juicy path to go on as a character. It's every actor's dream, really.
With Maxine, because she's a Lebanese Canadian, so we wanted someone who speaks Arabic, who understands the culture and the nuances, and she really portrays Dahlia beautifully.
Again, for me, Maxine, out of all the wonderful auditions that we got, did something that I've talked about a lot with them, is finding the emotional points of each scene between the dialogue. It's just in the looks and the feels and the breaths. And she did that in her audition. So there was very little doubt in my mind that it was Maxine for this role.
I'm sorry I brushed over it. I'm sorry I made you feel like it didn't mean anything.
It did?
Yeah, it did.
And also their chemistry works. They get on very well on set and off set. They are wonderful actresses who are going to go very far and do exceptionally well. Hopefully Polarized will be part of that success for them.
Hi. Dahlia, you're late. We have to choose for the wedding. Ahlan, ahlan. Okay, John, habibi.
Finding Canadian Arab actors was a tremendous challenge. It took us right up till the week before we were shooting to find, for example, the father, Tariq, and the mom, Reem, who played Dahlia's parents in the movie. And I was really pleased to be able to give them roles in Polarized that I don't think there are enough of for Arab-speaking actors. I think, you know, there's still a lot of where the terrorists or where the victims or where the dispossessed or where the traditional refugees. And Dahlia's family are refugees, but they've come to this town and done very well for themselves.
Getting to meet my entire family, that was a huge high moment for me. I loved getting to meet my sister, Barake. She's such a talented actor, and we had a lot of fun developing our sisterly relationship.
With Lisa's family, I got to work with Paul Ossiambre and Tara Stewart as her parents, who really, I think, have brought something exceptional to the movie as well. To me, the most magical parts of shooting a movie like Polarized are when the scenes and characters and moments that have lived in my head or on the page for so many years come to life in front of the camera. Primarily, it's really what the actors are doing. We didn't have the luxury of taking 10 takes of anything, but you know, if we felt the first take, which so often was the case with them, we'd get to play for a couple of takes. And to me, I think there's nothing more magical than being able to say to an actor, what if she doesn't know where the chairs are in this room? And just an oblique thing like that can kind of give them a feeling of being off guard that translates so beautifully and subtly into a different nuance. Action!
When Dahlia comes clean about what's going on and she gets ripped away from her family, and working with every single one of those actors and what they brought to the table was just, it was an incredible scene, and Shamim did an incredible job at making sure every actor was comfortable.
I've just come off a scene shooting with Holly and with Paul Ossiambre, who plays her dying father. And I told them that they could imagine that I wanted to cut every line of dialogue after this scene was done and still be able to play the scene. And that's what they gave me.
What are you doing?
Just sitting with you.
I like the driving scenes. But I think there's a real reality to how much people live in their cars. Especially when you're living outside of the city, you're spending a lot of time commuting, and it's a very private place for Lisa, so when someone comes into the car, it's a great opportunity for me to show more subtly how their presence affects me. And it's your job as an actor to figure out who you're gonna be. And there was a moment where I get out of my red pickup truck and I just landed with this certain sort of strut, and it just felt really right, and it really gave the character this awesome physicality that I'm quite proud of. That gives her a real strong streak, you know? There's a rebel in her, and to find that on that day was really cool.
Lisa and Dahlia have that fight outside of Agritech. That was a really challenging scene for me because it was right in the early stages of filming, so we had barely done anything at that point, and you know, that's always a challenge to do such a big pivotal scene that takes place at the end of the film, right at the beginning of filming.
Just give me a second to explain, just please.
I took you there. I showed you where I grew up, and all you're thinking about is how to make a buck.
Starting there and then going to just such an emotional state, that was definitely an interesting one and a challenging one, but I think I learned a lot as an actor with that scene. Some of the really intense scenes with Holly have been wonderful to discover because of how present they felt.
Maxine is a dream to work with. She's very sweet, she's extremely intelligent, she speaks multiple languages, and she's able to create some really great moments for Dahlia.
Music has always been huge for me in my writing and in directing. Polarized is very particular in that Lisa is an aspiring singer-songwriter. This would be not only the story of somebody coming to terms with their identity as a queer LGBTQ woman, but also as an artist. So it was very important to me to find songs for Lisa, the songs that Lisa has composed herself, that had that element of poetry and beauty and yearning. And boy, that was hard. I want to introduce you to the very, very talented Brooke Paulson.
Thanks.
Brooke wrote the songs that the main character Lisa sings in this movie. And she's a genius. I wanted something that was particularly poetic, meaningful, not your average song. And I listened to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of songs. And when I heard a couple of Brooks, I just knew that I had found the right person. And luckily she answered. It was, really.
Oh okay. A lot of the music they're sampling for the project was stuff that I'd written from my first EP called The Willow. So it was just like a really lovely experience to kind of revisit what we did on that album. Some of the themes and narratives that I was writing about at that age seemed similar to Lisa's journey.
Today's the day that Holly Deveaux, who plays her, will be playing up on that stage, doing an audition within the context of the movie, and then later on she'll be visiting this place as a club along with Dahlia. What I'm really excited about is that Holly's got such an amazing voice, such an amazing screen presence, and she'll be singing a really beautiful song called Cruel Joke, which was written by the very talented Canadian singer-songwriter Brooke Paulson.
She wrote beautiful songs that I feel really connected to Lisa's character, so it was easy to emote in those songs, particularly in Cruel Joke, which is the one that Lisa sings at the end of the movie.
Fast love's mistakes, and I will wait for you beneath the harvest moon. It's them, I'm packing a suitcase. It's been a long time coming and I'm wearing thin.
Working with Shamim has been really, honestly, a career highlight for me in both the film world and the music world. I love witnessing how she works. Her sense of humor is just that she's just
kind of the ideal person for me to work with. I've really, really enjoyed the process of working with her.
This is Juliet, our brilliant producer and one half of Lady Pictures, keeping it all together with our small but merry band of crew behind the scenes. Juliet Hagopian is our producer here in Winnipeg, and she is a force of nature.
I really wanted to support Hanan and Shamim because I believed in their story.
Julia's mindset has been that, okay, we know this is an obstacle, how can we make it work? Which is how we think as well. There were a lot of commonalities and the understanding of the importance of this film. So the fit was really right at many levels.
Yeah, we've been very careful in this movie because we are fairly low budget to choose and find locations that have an immense amount of production value already in them. And one of the things I loved here was the disused train tracks, the grain silo, the boardwalk.
We wanted to shoot it in Canada because we felt Canada is the right. I'm Canadian as well, I've been Canadian for 30 years.
The beautiful locations that we found throughout the rural parts of Manitoba, it gave the story a character.
I was very, very much attached to filming here because the landscape, I had come here a few years back as soon as I'd written the first draft of the script to scout, because this kind of feel, the landscape, the prairie skies, all of that was very much integral to the story in my mind. Polarized is set between two very different worlds, and they're symbolized in the small town. And over here,
Palestinian kitchen. So since it's a story of a Palestinian immigrant family and a local family, we thought we reinvented this whole place. So I'm very excited.
Beautiful set deck. The inside looks even better. And Millie's Diner across the road represents the old school part of the story.
Where a lot of the locals go versus where the sort of Palestinians and immigrants come here.
I just can't stop thinking about it as home. My room was right up there. And it was my dad's and my grandfather's. 3 generations on this farm. I can see why it means so much to you.
It's a film that has something to say. I think it's also entertaining. There's a strong narrative. There's a lot of drama in it. I think there's a beautiful love story at its core. And I think it talks about issues that we all need to be thinking about, which is what are the things that are keeping us apart in the world?
Hey, stop it! Asha, you have no idea what it's fucking like. All right, you have no idea.
I am from Palestine, then Syria. I have seen things you can't ever imagine.
What are the ways that we think about immigration? Should we be resenting women who define their sexuality different from the heteronormative style? Should we be defining ourselves entirely by our families and the boundaries they put up for us?
عيب ايدك عنها بابا، ايش فيه؟ بابا داليا طيب خلاص.
Feminism, social impact, diversity, all of these things are absolutely core to who I am as a person, because I think they are not solved.
Shamim is an incredibly special woman. Working with her has been absolutely my most favorite experience of working with any director. She's the first female director I've worked this much with on such a big project. She's very open, she's very sensitive, she's extremely funny. We've had a lot of laughs, but she's given me a lot of freedom in taking this character off the page. She's really made me feel supported and made me feel like I'm able to take risks and not be judged. I'm ruined now, I think, after working with her, because it's going to be a lot for someone else to match up. So, you know, in short, she's okay.
Shamim is just a wonderful person. She's so friendly and bubbly. She's setting such a good tone. She really has such a unique way of working with every single actor and figuring out what all of them need. This is the first time I work with a female director. I've definitely been more comfortable. Being able to ask Shamim for just some extra time and discussing the scenes, discussing the characters, sitting with her one-on-one, sitting with her with Holly, and just being able to dissect the scenes. You know, she's really present. She's really there to give the actors what they need. With Hanan, she has made this experience so incredible for me. She's somebody who loves with all her heart, and you know, you can tell how passionate she is about the project from A to Z. And you know, that's something that a film, for it to do well, definitely needs.
Hanan is such a lovely, lovely woman. She has a wonderful sense of humor. She's highly capable. Her compliments mean a lot to me because I feel like she's got a high bar. And you know, her and Shamim, obviously, they help each other in a way that's really beautiful to see. She's a real badass, in my opinion.
This is what Holly Deveaux does every time Hanan comes along.
And just to say, I'm super proud of my wife. Shamim has been under massive pressure every day to get a lot of shots in. She managed to, under pressure, to still do them and do them beautifully and cinematically, and getting great performances, and the visual landscape is also beautiful. So, as always, amazing work.
Working with Hanan is, it's non-negotiable for me. I don't think I would ever work on a feature film or anything without her. She's my rock. She is the one that makes, first of all, makes the financing happen. And she's got a creative input that I think is rare amongst producers. She'll do everything she can to protect the creative vision, no matter what's going on behind the scenes. She's incredibly good with the actors and the cast, creating a camaraderie and a family between all of us, and I think we're all friends for life.
This is my 5th film with Shamim. It's a passion project. I always produce Shamim's work.
Hanan is producing these movies for the same reason that I am, for the passion of it, and because there's a theme that we want to tell. Wouldn't do it without her, couldn't do it without her.
We've worked very closely with wonderful financiers, including CBC, Marinaz, who has the film commission, or the film section at CBC, and Marinaz was a big champion of this film. She's a champion of women and women in film. We've also worked closely with Telefilm, as well as MFM, Louise in particular. She's been a big champion of this film.
I love that it is a story about discovery. Both Lisa and Dalia discovering themselves and navigating all the obstacles that get put in front of them, and it was done in such an artistic and beautiful way through the script.
You need to do something with your music. I had plans, but it'll never turn into anything for me. You can't make money writing songs. People do.
With Polarized, I could see that there was a really clear vision. There was a really strong sense of 2 different communities, of change, of a town going through an upheaval that I think is really mirrored in so many towns all across North America and beyond. And the opportunity to be a part of that and to be someone who, to play a character like Lisa, who gets to show you can discover yourself by learning more about another community, or by having your world shaken up. It's this sense of awakening that immediately resonated with me. I hope that I'm able to make her the hero of her own story, because I think it's a really important story to tell.
All right, that is lunch, everyone.
I think there is so much there for people on all sides of all political and ideological spectrums. Just to fall into a story that maybe could push us to think a little bit differently.
That's right. Can't wait for you guys to see it. It's going to be really special.
Coming soon.